Hello, welcome to 1000 Words, Stories on the Way. My name is Matthew Clark, and I'm so glad that you're here listening to the podcast today. Thanks for stopping by. Right now, I'm towards the end of a series of podcast episodes where I'm introducing you to the essay writers who contributed to my latest book and album called Where the River Goes, Meditations on the Return of Jesus Christ in Story and Song. All three of the albums are out now on all streaming platforms, and all three of the books are available now on Amazon. You can even get the audiobook on some platforms, including Spotify. So for this project, each of these writers that I invited them to choose a song from the album and then write an essay in response. And I asked them to sort of enter into a conversation with whichever song that they chose, and then also to be writing and keeping in mind the overall story behind that album, which in this third book of the Well trilogy is all about Jesus finally defeating death and then also the hope of the coming resurrection and new creation. So if you'd like to hear more about this project and how it all came together, I've done several interviews on podcasts that you can check out. And to make it easy to find those, I made a playlist on my YouTube channel with all of those episodes, as well as videos of speaking engagements that I've done at various conferences and retreats over the years. All of that is on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/MatthewClarkNet. You can find that playlist. So this is week 8 of this series, and today's featured essayist for the Well trilogy is Nicole Howe. Nicole chose song number 8 on the album called Strong Man, and she wrote a really great essay in response. This song kind of carries forward some of the themes from the middle album. That middle album is about choosing whether to root ourselves in God's ways, like God's family tree, or in the world's ways, the family tree of evil. And the world's ways all have to do with dominance and self-protection and self-aggrandizement. On the other hand, the way of Jesus, according to Philippians 2, is all about humility and self-sacrifice and service. And the irony is that it's the one willing to become the servant of all who is the only one truly strong enough to save humanity from all of the powers that enslave us. Only the Lamb of God, because of his humility, is qualified to be the Lion of Judah. And over the last few years, I've struggled with the politics of power and pride we see around us, but Jesus is not intimidated. This song has a sister song on the middle album, which is called A Tale of Two Trees, and that song is called Like a Lamb. And together they sing of a true king whose rule will never end, a humble servant king, a king of beauty. So this is the song that Nicole chose, and in her essay she takes us back to a really tender memory from her childhood to discover that the great and powerful king actually bends down low to attend to our most painful prayers and our disappointments. So here's a little bit about Nicole from her bio in the book. Nicole Marie Howe is a writer, a speaker, a wife, and mother to 3 teenage mavericks, a 10-year-old bohemian, and a rescue pup named Samwise Gamgee. Nicole is director of formational community for the Cultivating Project and a columnist for Cultivating Magazine. She is also founder and co-director of One Story, a creative collaborative that provides Bible learning resources for kids and families. She serves locally as a lay teaching pastor for the Practice Church. Nicole holds a master's degree in cultural apologetics from Houston Christian University, where she discovered the power of the imagination to restore awe and wonder to her floundering faith. She's currently pursuing a Doctor of Ministry degree in Spiritual Formation and Relational Neuroscience from Western Theological Seminary. Nicole was so kind to participate in this project, and her essay is really beautiful. So I'll read a sample of Nicole's chapter entitled Prayers in Neon Chalk. And I hope you'll go now and order your own copy of Where the River Goes so you can enjoy finding out how this story that she tells, finding out how it ends. As I continued to journal, my mind took me on a tour through my past, and memories of grief and loss paraded in front of me in quick succession until my thoughts came to rest in my third grade cafeteria. It was December, not long before Christmas break. Every K-12 student had been brought into the cafeteria to hear an announcement about Miss Scott, a beloved teacher who had started just that year at our tiny private Christian school. She was young and soft-spoken and so very pretty. Everyone loved her. I remember I was more than a little jealous that the first and second grade class got to have her to themselves all day. Maybe one day I'd have her for a teacher too. About a week before, we'd been told Miss Scott had been in a horrible car accident and was in the hospital. For a whole week, we held on to hope that God would heal her. The weight of it felt incongruent with the normally joyful Christmas season around our school. She has to get better, I thought. It's Christmas. Only good and wonderful things happen at Christmas. But that day in the cafeteria, our principal stood before us with all the strength he could muster and said, Miss Scott has gone to be with Jesus. There were some audible gasps and a chorus of sniffles. I don't remember much about what happened after that. I just knew Miss Scott was with Jesus now, and somehow that was supposed to be a good thing. I think that day in the cafeteria was my first experience with a loss of that magnitude. But given that Miss Scott wasn't my teacher, and my parents weren't close to her or her family, and our tiny school didn't have much protocol for handling a tragedy like this, it seems, at least as I remember it, that life quickly moved on. I never went to the funeral. I'm not even sure I knew funerals were something you were supposed to do. Everything seemed off kilter and wrong, but not quite wrong enough to know what to do about it. I tried to process the grief quietly, in my own way. I remember thinking a lot about the car accident and wondering how and why it happened and if she had felt afraid. I cried when I thought about her family and how sad they must feel. What were they doing now? What would Christmas be like? But mostly I remember wondering why God had decided to take a perfectly healthy person to heaven to be with Jesus when we were enjoying her so much. He seemed selfish, but I dared not think about that too long. I've thought about Miss Scott a lot, off and on over the years, but not as much about the impact of such a loss on my young heart. My first confrontation with death was brutal. There could be no greater affront to the way things are supposed to be than a young teacher with a whole life ahead of her, taken away from us just weeks before Christmas. This is not how good stories are supposed to go. Our principal did his best to soften the blow, but if anyone had asked, I would have used whatever third-grade words I could find to tell them it felt like death had won. And that was that. The end. As the memories of Miss Scott came flooding back, I filled my journal with all the details I could remember, letting the grief wash over me in new ways. I felt fresh compassion for just how jarring this experience had been. Looking back with what I now know about grief, I can see just how obliterated and confused her loss had left me. That day, the sky grew dark and the wind turned cold. We ultimately believe that God is at war with us, and like Adam and Eve, we believe He is coming to kill us. If there was ever an experience that could convince me God was at war with us, it was this one. I went to a Christian school. I knew the stories. I knew God was good and that He loved us, but my embodied reality challenged all of that. The death of Miss Scott planted a seed of doubt in my mind about God's plans and purposes. But the real hit went even deeper than that. It wasn't just that she was suddenly taken from us in such a tragic way. It was that I had prayed. I prayed harder than I had ever prayed for anything in my life. For an entire week, our whole school prayed for God to show up, to turn His face toward us. We prayed for the deliverer to deliver and the healer to heal. During recess, we bundled up in snow pants and soggy boots and prayed faith of a child prayers in the school parking lot instead of playing on the mounds of cleared-away snow like we usually did. On one of those days, with mitten-covered hands, I took a piece of bright, neon-colored chalk and wrote across the black pavement in big, God-sized letters, "Please heal Miss Scott." The chalk was so bright, I just knew he would see it. That day in the cafeteria, we lost Miss Scott, but I also lost my childlike assurance that God would turn toward me when I cried. The reality of death introduced complexity beyond my ability to understand, and my young faith was tangled up in ways I didn't even realize. There was a whole lot of rubble and a whole lot of bricks I didn't know what to do with, and the seeming silence of God was deafening. I felt utterly powerless. Death had won, and God had rejected me. The end. I closed my journal and sat still for a few moments, reckoning with the gravity of my loss. What had been a trickle of tears was now a raging river, and the anger I felt was beginning to make sense. Yes, somewhere, I still believe God is at war with us. Somewhere, I struggle to believe that He listens when we pray. And somewhere, there is an 8-year-old little girl inside me pounding on the walls of my soul, vowing never, ever to write neon chalk prayers again. I spent that evening trying to remember everything I could about Miss Scott and what had happened. What year had it been, exactly? What was her first name? What happened after she died? I searched the internet for clues and sent messages to old schoolmates to ask what they could remember. I felt compelled to discover whatever I could find. Somewhere in me was also someone who knew that death does not get the final say. After a couple hours of searching, I finally found a copy of Miss Scott's obituary online. As I pored over her personal details, I began to feel more solid, somehow. It was real. It had all happened. What had been a blurry memory was coming into focus. Martha L. Scott. Martha. It occurred to me that I might not have ever known that. In third grade, teachers' first names are only ever Miss or Mr. 24 years old, December 6th, 1988, St. Anthony Hospital. Siblings. She had siblings. 7, to be exact. She was from Colorado. In just a few brief paragraphs, light was beginning to break on her life beyond that car accident, both before and after. I was getting only a glimmer, but it was just enough to remind me that there is so much more to her story. Years ago, I spent extended time exploring the book of Revelation, particularly the prophetic meaning in John's heavenly vision.
Revelation 5 opens with John's desperate search for someone worthy to open the scroll and interpret the prophecies that tell of God's kingdom coming at last. But the scroll is sealed shut, and it seems there is no one to open it. In verse 5, we are told that John wept and wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside. I can see my own tears and John's weeping. It all feels so hopeless. But then in the next verses, the story takes a beautiful turn. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." The Lion of the tribe of Judah, Christ himself, takes the scroll. He is going to do something about all of this grief. His kingdom will come. But then there's another beautiful image given to us just a few verses later. And when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. Each one had a harp, and they were holding golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of God's people.
Okay, thank you, Nicole, for being a part of this project with me. I really, really appreciate it. And here is the song Nicole chose to write for from this third album, in the third book in the Well trilogy. It's track number 8. It's called Strong Man.
I saw a great wave. It seemed to swallow up the sky. I felt the ground cave. I heard a burning angel cry. Let the dragon spit out fire. Let the strongest arms take aim. But there is no strong man stronger than. There is no strong man stronger than. There is no strong man stronger than the Lamb. I saw a great war being waged while the people slept. I heard the sweet tongues selling power from their poison lips. But the humble broke the spell, and the holy all proclaimed that there is no strong man stronger than. There is no strong man stronger than. There is no strong man stronger than the Lamb. I saw the blood boil. I saw the wicked dominate. I saw their grins fade when the author stepped on the stage, and the strutting began to fret. Their destruction was near at hand. 'Cause there is no strong man stronger than. There is no strong man stronger than. There is no strong man stronger than the Lamb. See the whole world in confusion. The diagnosis is worse than you can imagine. There's nobody left with eyes clear enough. We're looking at the rubble, but the blueprints are lost. Every well in the world is mixed with pollution. I heard creation shout for joy, and every red hand that touched the river turned white as snow. But the wicked I saw no more, and the dragon he met his end. 'Cause there is no strong man stronger than, there is no strong man stronger than, there is no strong man stronger than the Lamb.
Okay, friends, if you haven't gotten your copy of the Well Trilogy, I hope that hearing these samples will encourage you to remedy that so that you can go read the rest of these stories, these whole chapters. Head over to Amazon and get yours today, and check your favorite audiobook supplier as well if you'd like to listen to the audiobook version. If you enjoy the books or the albums or this podcast, please do share them with somebody, leave a review, and subscribe. And lastly, would you consider becoming a patron partner? Patronage is the main way that I'm able to continue doing this work of making things that make room for people to meet Jesus. If that sounds like something you'd like to support, I'd love to have your help, and I'd be really grateful for your prayers. Just visit matthewclark.net/partner for more information and to become a monthly supporter. That is all for today. Please tune in next week, and we'll continue our series with a reading from chapter 9 of Where the River Goes, featuring the author of the Every Moment Holy series, Douglas Kane McKelvey. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time on 1,000 Words, Stories on the Way.